Behold, the launch day of Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet has finally arrived, and, as always, on top of a lot of pomp, sequins and an amazing and extreme hype, as always happens with any game in the popular Pokémon franchise. The world officially got to know Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet, which were released in separate games, so, it's correct to say, they were released and it wasn't released. A tactic already used on other occasions by Nintendo in the cute little monsters games, to be able to sell more versions of the game, and even a double package, for twice the price. All the fans' excitement and anticipation for this release had a very special reason, as this time there was the official promise that this game would bring a new and revolutionary path to be followed from now on by the games in the series, allowing you, from now on, to hop on a legendary Pokémon and explore a wonderful, vast and open world, in which there are no barriers. There would not be a defined path in this game for you to explore the great adventure through the new region of Paldea. That is, you explore the region as you wish. Has that promise been fulfilled with the release of the game? The answer is a strong and scandalous yes. The game is wonderful in that sense, and, more than that, I dare say that this game brings the concept and idea that every Pokémon fan has dreamed of since the beginning of the Pokémon game series, back on the Game Boy, in 1996. When you start the game, you will be able to choose between Sprigatito, Fuecoco or Quaxly, to be your first partner Pokémon and to venture into the vast region of Paldea, an area full of mountains, swamps, lakes, waterfalls, deserts, forests, villages and complete cities, all of it loaded with many surprises and mystery. There is no other way to say it. The concept and idea of the game is, in fact, wonderful. It is the materialization of the series fans' dream in the form of a game. But, unfortunately, this dream has numerous technical problems that dim the brilliance of a colossal idea. We know that most games always have some little problem, some error, some bug, something out of place, that went unnoticed or ended up being in the final product due to the launch deadline being already very high. Well, who has already done masters and doctoral courses know very well what it's like to fight against time to deliver the final version of a work. It is for this reason that there is the saying that dissertations and theses are never truly finished the way the author wanted. The delivery deadline ends and the work ends up being delivered the way it was. Well then, in the case of Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet, it is with great sadness that we are obliged to report that the game is not polished and, more than that, the game has not been finished. Understand. The game and all the ideas and news added in it work, well, it works, but sometimes the game gives so many errors that it closes by itself. But it works full of problems that jump out at the eyes of the players, and even spreads across various social networks on the internet, an infinity of people posting photos and videos with multiple types of technical errors of this game. Some errors make the characters act in a macabre way, which even resemble the disturbing scenes of the Exorcist movie. Like frames per second very low, poorly finished graphics, problematic lighting, characters out of control, crashes, a lot of slowness, constant visual glitches make strange things appear on the screen at various times, among many other problems. Can believe, this is being reported here in this review with deep sadness on the critic's part. It is very sad to see that the end result of a game that had everything to shine in the world of electronic games was marked by a total lack of care on the part of the company that developed it, and also on the part of the company that released it. More than a simple oversight in the game's production, the situation of this game should be treated by players and critics as a total negligence on the part of the responsible companies. Yes, full, total and shameful neglect with a series as grand and gigantic as Pokémon. How is it possible that a brand that became so big, but so big, to the point of becoming a symbol of the geek world in pop culture, a franchise that marked generations and that has remained at the top of the charts in terms of importance, relevance and, mainly, in raising money, do you receive a game that is totally poorly finished that way? How could Nintendo, which is so famous for its level of quality and demand, a company that says in the four corners of the open world of planet Earth that its motto is to put smiles on people through its quality products and franchises, delivery to its consumers, at full price, a game that has not had the slightest care? There is, but the game was developed by Game Freak and not by Nintendo, some defenders may say. Yes, it's true, the game was developed by Game Freak, but it was released by Nintendo, which, at the very least, was conniving with all the technical problems that this game presents, and with all the problems presented by the older games in the Pokémon series. The impression these companies give is that they are deliberately releasing games with problems, not because they want to release a game full of errors, but because they know that the game, due to the fact that it is a Pokémon series title, will sell a lot. and will bring an absurd profit. Well, why worry so much? Launch it anyway. If we delay the launch of the game, we will lose money. The lack of care that almost all Pokémon franchise games receive is at odds with the level of quality that Nintendo built its fame. Differs from the quality level of the games that Rare produced for the Nintendo 64, such as Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day and many others, and the Zelda series games, in a situation that Shigeru Miyamoto himself, in interviews from the time of Nintendo 64 games, admitted that he competed with Rare to see who released a game with greater quality and polish. At that time, Rare delayed the launch date of the games to deliver a polished and quality product, and the result was emblematic games, remembered and worshipped until today, such as GoldenEye 007. It's revolting what they are doing with the Pokémon series. The franchise deserves more than that, and, more than that, consumers deserve much more. After all, these games are not distributed for free, they are sold, and for a very high price, by the way. After all this furious outburst, let's move on to the good part of the game. Despite the annoying technical problems, as I reported at the beginning of this review, this game brings the concept and idea that every Pokémon fan has dreamed of since the first Pokémon game. This game translates into a huge leap over the previous ones. If before we had a gameplay that ended up being very immobilized, due to the limitations of the pre-established paths, now we actually have a game with a very wide area, very open and with a very free gameplay. It is exciting to see that the setting of Paldea in this game, different from the regions portrayed in previous games, conveys a strong sense of immersion in a map dense and rich in details of the scale of the environment and the number of non-playable characters, the famous extras that appear on the screen. Well, the game starts as follows. You, as the protagonist of the story, are a student at a school that is doing fieldwork, with the intention of making the students discover their personal passions. The task is free and each student can do it wherever they want, so that they can make this inner discovery. Now imagine how much this would go wrong in real life. And so, looking for your treasure, you end up arriving in Paldea and experiencing three major main trajectories, which can be played in the way, mode and pace you want. The three campaigns are linked together, but they develop separately and simultaneously, converging to the same point, in the end. The game's three main campaigns are Victory Road, which is the traditional gym route, in which you'll take challenges in gyms and focus on becoming the great champion. The second is Path of Legends, in which you'll face powerful Pokémon, Titans, which keep rare ingredients. The third is Starfall Street, where you will face the Star Team, which is the evil gang, which makes a certain mess and must reach their boss. Let it be clear that, unlike the previous game in the franchise, Pokémon Legends, Arceus, which had several locations that were semi-open, here in Scarlet and Violet everything is really open and you will feel very comfortable doing everything your way, the way you want and if you want. And that freedom is felt throughout your journey. For example, what can happen in some moments is that you realize that you shouldn't go, but you can go if you want. The game won't stop you, to some places, because, from such a large region of Paldea, it is full of very diverse areas, such as mountains, swamps, lakes, waterfalls, deserts, forests and cities, and in some places you will find Pokémon that are at a level far above what you are at the moment. And that's when you realize that that specific point on the map must be visited at a later point in time, when you're at a more advanced level of the game. By now you may have wondered if there is any difference between the Scarlet and Violet versions. Yes, we can say that there are some substantial differences regarding the core of the game, and we will now deal with the main ones. Firstly, Pokémon Scarlet has a focus focused on the past time and Pokémon Violet presents an aspect focused on the future time. And this causes the stories to follow with modifications and the themes of the characters are different, even of some Pokémons, which are the paradox Pokémons. In Scarlet we will find ancestral versions of some Pokémons, while in Violet we will have future versions, evolved versions of them. In addition, of course, we have the exclusive Pokémons of each version. The schools are different in each version. In Scarlet we have the Naranja school, in which the symbol is an orange, and the Grape school in Violet. The teachers are also different in the versions. In Scarlet we have Professor Sada and in Violet we have Professor Turo. As one game is oriented towards the past and the other towards the future, these professors' studies are also different. While Sada studies ancestry, Turo, in turn, will study the evolutionary process of Pokémons. Despite the innovations brought by the open world, the battles follow the traditional formula of previous games, and are not as fast as we had in Pokémon Legends, Arceus, but follow the pattern already known by fans of the series. Despite that, we have a situation that I considered very cool and that brings dynamism to the game and that helps to make the player immerse himself more strongly in the open world feeling in real time of the game, which is the insertion of the Let's Go mode, which allows you to send one of your Pokémon to fight wild Pokémon and collect some items. Despite providing less experience points, it is a good and easy way to accumulate items and points. This point, we consider it to be a great novelty for the series, that Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet bring, in addition to the issue of the open world. The Terrastall mechanic is another great and good news added to the Pokémon combat system. It works like this. The Pokémons have a Terra element and the Terrastall transforms the Pokémon into its Terra type, and this allows the Pokémons to change their configuration and assume a crystallized form, which changes the resistances and weaknesses of your friend, in addition to strengthening the damage he causes, thus allowing you to use Terrastall to establish new strategies in battles that you consider more complex. In addition to what we have already mentioned, I believe that I should not say more about the mechanics of the game, so as not to spoil your experience when playing this game. In fact, it's a game, or two games, depending on your point of view, that does have serious technical problems that demonstrate a huge lack of care on the part of the companies responsible for the game. It doesn't matter if the problems are caused by bad construction of the game or due to the technical inability of the Nintendo Switch hardware. The fact is that technical problems exist in an extremely expensive game and that, whatever the reason for their existence, they should have been solved before launch, so that this game would not be nicknamed of Cybermon 2077, or many other joking nicknames that spread through social networks and specialized websites, but in fact. Despite the fact that the game was released unfinished, in obvious disregard of the responsible companies, this game seems to have been idealized with the thought focused on what the fans really wanted to exist in a Pokémon game. We know, however, that there was a problem in finalizing the execution of the game, which caused a considerable part of the brightness to be lost, but, in fact, the qualities and novelties of this game are strong and make the game still have some brightness. The problems and bugs found represent an absurd disrespect to consumers, but certainly should not prevent fans of the series from playing this game, due to being a game in the Pokémon franchise and the novelties that were brought by Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet. We are hoping that the developer will make an emergency update, which will fix all the problems, out of respect for the legacy of the Pokémon franchise and its fans, and thus, therefore, causing Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet to no longer be treated as a humorous love-hate affair, and show the true spark they deserved to have from the start, for bringing so much good innovation to the concept of the series. Positive points. The open world fit like a glove, making the game surprisingly fun. Insertion of the Let's Go mode and the Terrastall mechanic gives more exciting battles. The three main campaigns of the game are fantastic. Great amount of Pokémons. The game is very fun as a whole, and brings several new features that have long been desired by fans of the series. Negative points. Not available in Portuguese. The game launched with countless technical issues that detract from the fun. It should have more extra content, in addition to the main campaigns, to give the title more longevity. The graphics are old-fashioned, very poorly finished. The game appears to have been released unfinished due to the massive lack of polish. Note 6. Review written by Marcus and published on the Revolution Arena website.